sense with his lineup.
Would you agree that overall RDU feels like he has a lineup advantage in this matchup? It feels like there was a lot of decks, potentially the Zoo, potentially the Rogue, and the Hunter as well, that can really beat up some of these control decks that Shtan has brought with him.
Yeah, potentially he could have a small edge. ShtanUdachi playing the only anything Paladin of this tournament, and we're gonna see him play it in the very first game of the tournament as well.
Yep, straight into the action, and it is going to be that unique anything Paladin for ShtanUdachi. RDU queuing up his Rogue, and ShtanUdachi choosing to hold on to the equality there as well as the Outdoor Peacekeeper. RDU going for a much more aggressive mulligan. Did not have a pretty looking Rogue hand, but
now it's much better.
Yeah, now it's looking pretty rosy. That is a solid curve starting off.
It really is. That hand wouldn't be the best possible against the aggressive strategy, but ShtanUdachi with his anything Paladin is not going to be putting much pressure early on, so Tomb Pillager, Azure Drake, Auctioneer, those might even be the best 3 cards possible for the opening hand. Leroy, well, a little bit early for that, but I'm sure RDU is still happy with what he's got.
Yeah, so there are a bunch of different Rogue builds available, and even within the Miracle archetype, RDU, I believe, is running the Questing Adventurer variant, which it's such a weird throwback. It was like one of the original forms of Miracle Rogue that came out. The Questing Adventurers buffing them up to huge sizes with the preps and backstabs and coins, but suddenly it's come back with a vengeance, and most people are agreeing that this is one of the most powerful builds of Rogue, especially for tournament formats.
Yeah, it's really interesting, because when I first heard about the Questing Adventurers making an impact in the Rogue decks, I thought, yeah, maybe it's because of Barnes. Like, that's such a powerful combination, like if you get questing from the Barnes, but RDU is not even running a Barnes, so Questing Adventurer for Rogue might have been just kind of a sleeper, and in a sense that people didn't realize its strength early on.
Yep, so RDU here had the option to make one of those kind of ambitious Rogue curves where he could have coined out Tomb Pillager and then tried to coin out the Drake next turn, but problem with that being, if he has the true Silver champion to ShtanUdachi, then suddenly that's a lot of value being given over 2 turns to the true Silver, so he's just going to hold on to his coin here long term.
I really like holding on to the coin. If he was to coin out the Tomb Pillager, there was no good follow-up. Shadow Strike potentially would have been okay, but not necessarily. And ShtanUdachi's Barnes this time around is not going to get him anything great. That Harrison Jones, just the 1-1, not being able to get any extra benefits out of it.
Yeah, Barnes is such a high percentage card in anything Paladin. Definitely one of the stronger decks because, not only can you hit your Ragnaros Light Lords and Fire Lord as well if you're running it, as well as Tyrion, but just pulling an extra Murloc is so huge for the deck if you pull out a Bluegill or a War Leader. Yeah,
because quite often, once you get to 10 mana, there hasn't been that many Murlocs dead. You might have potentially maybe not even drawn a single War Leader, for example. So Barnes helps with getting those Murlocs on the board early on, but didn't work. It doesn't always work. It is an unreliable card. Here, RDU 5 mana. Unfortunately for him, he can't really access the coin from the Tomb Pillager, so the Auctioneer turn is probably something that he's not going to do just yet. Would love to have that extra coin.
Yeah, it's one of the things that you'll often see people do against Rogue is try and neutralize the Tomb Pillager in ways that aren't killing it. You'll see, like, in the Rogue mirror, it's pretty much the best sap target, for example, to send it back, or just, hexing it, polymorphing it, neutralizing it with the Outdoor Peacekeeper, just anything that can stall them getting those extra coins in their hand, because when you're playing Questing Adventurer, Edwin Van Cleef, and Auctioneer in your deck, that is a lot of uses that you have for coins in your hand.
Yeah, it's certainly ShtanUdachi's hand not looking so great. 6 mana and just going to Hero Power Pass. Does have that Bluegill, but no War Leader. It wouldn't really do much to play it there. In combination with the War Leader, he could have the 4 damage charge, so that's something that he is probably looking to potentially get from the top of his deck. That equality that he kept in the starting hand is kind of an insurance, though, in combination with the Wild Pyromancer, so he will be able to clear any board that RDU creates.
Yep, speaking of clears, though, this is a pretty reasonable one to take care of the Drake. The Consecration and Bluegill Warrior gets rid of it, and again, that Tomb Pillager is just stuck around, not giving over that bounty to RDU with the coin. But that Edwin in hand now is a very big deal. He has questing as well, so he can choose to push all in very soon, or he can try and break up his threats one by one and try and pull out on a quality on his first threat and then follow up with the second one afterwards? Like, how do you see this game moving forward from here, Savitz?
I would go for maybe something like Questing Adventure, Cold Blood. Maybe one prep into a fan. The Auctioneer would be a little bit like too much draw. He doesn't have the Conceal just yet. Going for the Questing and the Edwin, I think, is a little bit too many eggs in one basket. He's just gonna go for the Auctioneer here. And probably like coin out and hope for a Conceal. One of those prep fans can be cycled, I believe. But if he goes for the second one, that should result in overdraw, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that looks about right to me. Prep fan is going to be used. Still has that 1 mana remaining that he's left open for a Conceal if he gets it. Doesn't hit it, though. But yeah, I like this line a lot, too, because your opponent has shown you over the last couple of turns that True Silver Champion is not in their range. You've had Drakes and Tomb Pillagers on the board that just haven't been hit by the weapon. So if there were to be an equality in the hand, you would probably get it used on this board, and then your huge aggressive threats can follow up. But that True Silver now potentially gets Shtan out of a bit of a mess in this situation.
Yeah, that True Silver is so good. Because if he went for the Wild Power equality here, it would be too early. Like, we know it would be too early for it. Like, it would be way too early for it. The ShtanUdachi would have had to do it. That Auctioneer is something he can't really leave on the board. And True Silver Consecration lets him clear the board. And RDU with how many cards? I think he's going to overdraw one here.
Certainly is. That addition of the extra coin gets RDU into trouble, but I think his line on the previous turn is understandable. You know, any 1 mana card that he drew, the Conceal was such a big hit with what he did, and you know, Shtan had shown that he wants to leave that Tomb Pillager up, so no great expectation for RDU to draw the coin there.
We certainly can't blame him for going that play right there. Even though I personally would have maybe leaned towards a Questing Adventure, but here 10 cards available to him, so many things to do. Looks like he's maybe going for the... Well, I mean, we know that he's going for the second Auctioneer, but the Edwin... Oh, he gets a Conceal, so he could play the Edwin Van Cleef and Conceal it, but that the equality... RDU knows that the ShtanUdachi is playing 2 of those, so...
And that's the thing, from RDU's perspective, do you feel like you've checked for equality at this point in the game? I'm not sure you do, right? Because the True Silver draw from Shtan just changed everything. That really prevented RDU from getting any kind of read on the AoE in his hand.
I agree. And he is going to go for the Concealed Questing Adventure instead of the Van Cleef here. It's such a weird situation because RDU, I feel like, is outvaluing ShtanUdachi by quite a bit, but he's also down to 9 health after this True Silver attack, and there is that, I believe, there's one blue kill only dead, so the anything happening wouldn't do much.
10 mana, 2 damage doesn't seem too appealing at this point.
But ShtanUdachi does have lethal setup over 2 turns because of that True Silver, because he will be able to attack next turn with the True Silver Champion, then attack with it again on the following turn and use the anything can happen. So if RDU wants to take this one, he needs to be fast.
Right, the danger with Rogue, if you intend to make that kind of play, is that, you know, can you afford 2 turns of just hitting face when you're staring down a board like this? And RDU is recognizing the situation perfectly and saying, okay, I need to stop Shtan from racing me here. I need to try and make a counter push. Is the Ragnaros Lightlord healing him back up to 30? Is that going to be enough to give him the confidence to go here?
Well, I don't think he has any other option. There's no way for him to clear. He has to go for the face and just maybe play the Rag and the Doomsayer. It doesn't really matter if you play the Doomsayer, but CPOs might as well. ShtanUdachi knows that he might still die, but I don't know. I guess that you could justify in some ways to like kill the Tomb Pillager, but I would hate to see the Tomb Pillager attack, because like, how do you win then?
Yeah, I agree.
If you don't set up the lethal here.
Yeah, I totally agree, but I was just wondering here whether the Doomsayer is to his benefit or not. I guess it is slightly. It's just, you know, if you're not going to die here to RDU, then by not playing the Doomsayer, you're also insisting that they clear your AA, or else you're going to be through persistent healing. But yeah, Doomsayer is such a clean setup here, and with 11, 12, 15 damage on board, plus the Leroy 21, SI7 agent is 23. He's short, so unless some Blood Mage miracles happen here.
There is a way out with potentially with the Journey below as well, because he could discover a Taunt minion from such an Abomination or Infested Tauren. Those would keep him safe in case that he does not get the lethal.
Yep, I think Chillmore as well. I think those are the only 3 that you can pick up that have Death Rattle in the game now, after our long-departed friend Sludge Belcher has disappeared from the game.
Yeah. Oh, looks like he's going to go for a Drake instead. Trying to think if there's any way he can find like. No, I just don't see it. I don't think there's a. And he's not even going for the journey below, so he's going to try to clear and just hope that ShtanUdachi does not have 1 damage.
I don't know.
I don't know. It's just.
It seems sketchy. It's hard from our position, of course. We have caster vision. We know it's going to happen, but how often do you see a control paladin make that aggressive play? Over 3 turns, he's been going face to set this up. So
pretty much never. So
I think you have to have the read that this one bluegill warrior is going to end your life. I said 10 mana, 2 damage isn't too appealing, but when it ends the game, that'll do the job as well as anything else.
10 mana.